Hello, my fellow Michigander.
Hello. Oh, Michigan girls.
Midwest represent, right?
Yes, representing the best of the Midwest.
Well, and that's a great place to start. What was your childhood like growing up in Michigan? And what were you like as a child? I'm so curious.
Well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask my brother, he'll tell you I was a pain in the butt. Goodness gracious. Oh, it gets me like all emotional and sentimental thinking back to, my childhood, just thinking of how different life is now. And if little Cassie only knew what she was doing, like it's the most wild thing to almost digest and think about. But I had an amazing childhood in the suburbs of Detroit, a town called Clinton Township, which is, of course, in Macomb County. And I went to Catholic school from third grade on. My high school was an all-girls Catholic high school. And then, my brother was, of course, at the all-boys Catholic high school down the street. And so I grew up with a great group of friends. And my brother was, of course, one of my closest friends, too. And so I spent a lot of time with family and friends. I didn't do many sports. I tried them all. I gave it a good try. I didn't really stick with sports. I kind of followed my brother's baseball teams around and spent more of my time as the baseball sister. And, that was time with my family. So, that took up a lot of my childhood, honestly, being on a baseball field, following my brother around. And then,
girl, I did not do sports either. I did track 1 year in 8th grade, and only because I got the free sweatshirt and it would make me look cool. That was the only time I ever did sports. It was always dance, which I guess is a sport. Yeah. We can argue that. Yeah. And theater and music and piano, like anything artsy, but when it came to sports, nothing.
Okay, I did do piano. I come from, which is fun fact, a very strong bowling family. My dad, yeah, it's wild. It's one of those fun facts where it's like, okay, let's go out on a first date bowling because I'll kick your booty. But my brother was like the number 2 bowler in the state of Michigan, just because that's how we were raised, just to bowl, and we're very good at it, which is wild. My dad, that was his business. He ran the bowling alley and all the lessons and things like that at the Detroit Athletic Club for almost 30 years. And so I grew up spending a lot of time downtown. That's a fun fact. Random fact is I'm a very good bowler. So that's my I guess that's the best sport that I'm good at.
Now, you said your brother said you were a pain in the butt, but what would other people say Cassie was like? Were you shy as a kid? Were you really outgoing? Yeah. Like, what were you like?
Girl, I was so annoying. I was always asking questions, which I guess came in handy later down the road being a journalist. Always asking questions, always had to be talking, always had to be the one raising my hand in classes, saying something or asking something. And I think that was like just to talk. I have always been the Energizer Bunny. I have been I always was doing the most. I was voted most likely to become famous in high school, which I don't consider myself famous. I just interview famous people. But I think people and myself, we always saw the bright lights of Hollywood for me. So I think that's what they meant there. I was also voted most dramatic. And then I threw a fit that I was voted most dramatic because I was really upset about being voted most dramatic. And
of course you did.
It took me, because I always was never in the drama. I skirted the edges of drama. And anyway, that was...
What's your sign?
So, I'm an Aquarius.
Okay, that tracks.
Okay, all right. Well, that tracks. So, yeah.
So, did you know from a young age that you wanted to go into journalism, and not just journalism, but entertainment news?
Girl, I was going to be a pediatrician for the longest time. Actually, this is a really good story of really where it all started for me. In 2008, I won a sweepstakes from MTV and Sunkissed. They flew me out to California. I was 15 years old at the time. I was allowed a +1, so I brought my older cousin. flew my older cousin and I out to California for an all-expenses-paid trip courtesy of MTV and Sunkist, where we attended a Hollywood party on the rooftop of the London Hotel.
Wow.
And this party was DJ'd by Pete Wentz, and the Kardashians were there. And this was like pre-Kardashian era. But what I remember so vividly about this party was standing on the rooftop overlooking Hollywood and just seeing the bright lights of the city and looking around and seeing all of the action. And I was like, I have to be a part of this world. But at that time, I didn't think entertainment news. Honestly, that was still so far down the road. I was like, I'm going to go into event planning. I want to plan something like this. This is huge. This is amazing. And that was such a pivotal moment for me, shifting my interests and where I almost felt at home. I met the Kardashians that night. We rode in the elevator together. We took a photo that I submitted later to Star Magazine. So it was almost like it was already in my blood. I just didn't know it. And it was literally in my DNA that I was chasing those bright lights of Hollywood. It didn't hit me right over the head at that point. There were hundreds of us that won this sweepstakes. It was the craziest thing. They reached out to me because they were looking for someone to follow their experience while they were in LA and literally follow them around with a camera. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, absolutely. Let's be a reality star for the weekend. So MTV followed me around. I still have it on a DVD. I have to figure out how to make it digital, but it's a DVD. It's like a 5-minute video of them following me around and documenting my experience. And I was so cringe-worthy back then. Oh my goodness. I'm so mortified.
Of course we were.
But I'm so glad I do have video documentation of that moment and that weekend of my life because it changed everything for me. So it wasn't until later down the road in high school, it was around the same time, I took a journalism class. And then I was like, oh, I really like this. I like asking questions. I'm curious. This seems fun. Event planning, maybe I'll go into PR instead. And so again, still, I wasn't necessarily like hooked on entertainment news at that point. I applied for journalism schools while I was in high school. And then once I got into Syracuse University, at that point I had decided I do want to do something on camera. I like asking questions. I like that world. I was torn between entertainment and sports for a very long time.
Wow.
And it wasn't until someone asked me, well, when you're with your friends, what do you talk about? And I said, honestly, like, my group of friends, my best friend and I, we're always texting, oh my gosh, did you see who got divorced? Oh, did you see who's dating who? Oh, Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey broke up. Like, do you remember that moment in time? Like, that was what got me excited and what I was always talking about organically with my friends. I was that one in the group that people would go to of like, oh, what's going on, in Hollywood? What's going on with all the celebrities? And it just was something that I would follow, whether it be on the internet. Remember when Ocean Up, that website, like it was kind of like, this was pre-Just Jared.
Yes.
That I checked that regularly. I would go to the newsstands and get the magazines. And I realized how much I was interested in entertainment news, but still never thought of it as a career. And it wasn't until, once I was at Syracuse and once I was having those conversations that I was like, oh, no, I really like entertainment. Let me figure out how to make this possible. My major was broadcast and digital journalism. And so we were trained at Syracuse to, really be hard-hitting news journalists,
Right.
as well as, Syracuse is very big on sports too. So entertainment was not a thing there. I kind of like had to figure it out on my own. I had to find the stories that were Hollywood adjacent in Syracuse. So it was like the Baldwin family lives nearby. And so I was like pitching stories about the Baldwins because I wanted to do entertainment. I said, please, can I do a Hollywood headlines in 60 seconds segment? And they gave it to me, which was amazing. But they, it wasn't like, we're so excited for you, do it. It was kind of, fine, here you go. Prove us wrong that entertainment news can be entertaining and engaging and informative. And so during the day, I was in my classes. At night, I was doing, radio stations. I was writing news stories, and then I was doing the videos, producing and hosting different segments. And so I was really learning hands-on, and that's kind of where, I really, really, really fell in love as I was doing it.
Did you ever feel tempted by your peers that maybe I should go to a local news market next and go through the whole general assignment reporting route?
When I graduated and I saw everyone getting jobs at local news stations, of course you feel discouraged. Well, I'm not getting jobs in the interest that I like and I want, I'm applying for, because entertainment, of course, is harder. But to be honest, in my heart, I knew I did not want to do the local news path. I was convinced to go the digital route and focus on entertainment. I could have very well done local news and then tried to really focus on lifestyle while doing local news, but I think it would have taken me a lot longer to get to where I am now. Mm-hmm. And so I took a giant leap of faith where I was like, I'm gonna do entertainment news no matter what. And I never, to this day, I've never worked at a local news station. I got my very first job offer was at a station in Reno, and it was a 2-year deal, and my heart wasn't in it, and I didn't want to lock myself into 2 years. It seems short, but it is a very long time when you're not
invested in it.
Exactly. And that would be 2 years on my heart that I would be torn of wanting to do something else, even though I'm still learning and still honing my skills and, still getting experience. It just wasn't what I wanted. So I took the leap of faith and I did digital when digital wasn't even a thing, really. It was kind of the beginnings of it. It's not what digital is now.
Oh, yeah. And we'll talk about that. I was doing a little bit of research and looking at when did I first reach out to you? And I scrolled back on Instagram and did my digging. And I found that I reached out to you in 2015. So it's been over a decade now. And from what I remember, you were at Celeb TV. Which feels like eons ago. I know. And we've stayed connected this long. It's so wild. But we were both trying to get our feet in the door with entertainment. Like you said, I was in local news doing more of the lifestyle thing, trying to work my way up that way. You, on the other hand, went to Celeb TV. So let's talk about that.
That was literally my first job in entertainment news. And honestly, the way that came about was shortly after graduation. I had moved back to Michigan and I was applying for jobs, and I was cold reaching out to people in the entertainment space that I looked up to and that I wanted to, pick their brains. And one thing that I love about our industry is the sisterhood, right? We all have this shared passion and drive to be successful in our fields. And I say that because Danielle Robay is someone who I cold reached out to on Twitter. This is when it was Twitter back in the day. And she was, a very important figure and force in Chicago in the Midwest. Yep. And I, being a Detroit girl, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like, she and I are, so synced in that way. So let me reach out to her. She may not respond. And she did. And she was like, let's hop on a call. And we did. And we talked about the industry and what I wanted to do and things like that. And she was like, let me connect you with a producer friend of mine in Chicago. And sure enough, that's actually how I got my first job, because that producer was looking for someone to help them at Celeb TV. And so it really goes back to, and that's why I try to help younger girls who reach out to me, is because I would not be anywhere if it weren't for Danielle Robay, Alicia Quarles, Juliana Rancic, all of those who I had reached out to, who took me under their wings and gave me advice. And so anyway, that's how I started in the industry. And when I was at Celeb TV, oh my gosh, you guys, I was making pennies and trying to just learn as I went. I'm in Chicago. My parents are trying to help me out as best as I could. I mean, I was like, this was my first job out of college. And I was trying to do everything that I could. So I was writing scripts, I was pitching stories, I was fronting them on camera. And it's so funny because I'll look back at those clips and I'll notice like I still did like the chicken wings with my arms and I like lacked them. And I'm so grateful for that period of time in my career because I learned so much from just doing things each day repetitively that would help hone my skill set and prepare me for what the next 2 jobs were to come. And so that was my first job in Chicago, and it was less than a year. And I went into the office one day. They needed to talk to me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting a promotion. This is great." No, they were shutting the division down, and I was losing my job, and I was gutted. But what's so wild is that I was so divinely protected. I was supposed to sign a 2-year apartment deal the very next day. And they didn't know that. But they told me the news. And so I had a U-Haul already scheduled for that weekend. And instead of packing it up to move to a new apartment in the city where I thought I was going to stay for the next 2 years, I packed it up and I moved back home to Michigan. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that drive home, feeling a sense of failure and what do I do now? Even though it wasn't my fault, the company shut down. But the panic of what do I do now? I loved what I was doing so much. Why did it have to go away? Why can't I be doing it again or doing it anymore? Like you go through all those motions. You're grieving something that you were so excited about. And I got back home to Michigan and I started the unemployment process and applying for different jobs day in, day out. Nothing was fitting what I wanted to do, and nothing was matching up to what I was doing at Celeb TV. And I knew in my heart that I would have to move out to California if entertainment news is where I want to be, what I want to do. I have to be in Hollywood. Michigan, as much as, Michigan has been great with the film industry and things like that, that's not where the heart of Hollywood is. And so I gave myself a few months in Michigan, and I said, if I don't find a job by May, I have to move out to LA no matter what and figure it out. And it was right around that time that I found a job on Facebook from a producer, and it was a producer gig. And I, of course, lied and said that I had already lived in LA.
Of course, we all have to.
Because you have to. I learned that early on that they don't hire you unless you already live out in LA. Because they're probably afraid that they're going to have to pay your moving expenses.
Exactly.
And so I ended up, I did a call for a job on a Wednesday. They're like, can you start Monday? I'm taking the call from my bedroom in Michigan. I was like, sure, no problem. I'll be there on Monday. And I packed up my entire bedroom and I shipped everything to Los Angeles. I bought a kids' bedroom set on Macy's.com because that's all I could afford. And what was, again, this divine protection, I had a friend whose roommate was moving out at that time in the middle of the month. How random.
Yeah.
And so it just lined up where I had a place to move into right when I got into Los Angeles. And I mean, I truly, when I say I've been divinely protected every step of the way in my journey, I mean, the pieces of this like chess board for me, I'm very, 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 very blessed and grateful that someone's been looking out for me, or I think I have a team looking out for me above.
So where was this producer job at?
That was with Top 30, the syndicated show with Fox. So I was their social media producer. This was like a 5-6 week gig while they were, doing their testing and trying to get the show off the ground.
Okay.
And I mean, I had no business being a social media producer. Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it, girl.
But I needed a job that was getting me in the door, meeting people, and something that was temporary, because I didn't want to I don't want to use the word stuck, but I didn't want to get in this rhythm of working somewhere where, yes, I was in the door, yes, I was getting a paycheck, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So, which was, of course, be on camera. And so this was a 5-week, 6-week temporary gig, and it paid really well. And I was able to meet a lot of people. It was an amazing experience. Learned a lot about, social media and budgets and things like that. Great. That something else on my resume that I can offer. And so that was like a 5-6 week thing. And then I was back to being unemployed. And then my next job also founded on Facebook. What is Facebook being responsible for my my employment? A mutual friend had reposted this job listing, and it was for an on-camera producer an on-camera host / producer for a company called Sweetie High. And that was, think of it almost as like an E-News, ET for a very younger generation. So I was interviewing Jenna Ortega and JoJo Siwa before they were even, really like the names that they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for 2 years. But Celeb TV, everything that I was doing at Celeb TV was everything that I needed to be doing at Sweetie High. And then when I worked at Sweetie High for 2 years, everything that I was doing there was setting me up for what I needed to do at Entertainment Tonight, which was then the next step.
So how did Entertainment Tonight happen?
So I had read in one of the trades, I think it was Deadline or Hollywood Reporter, that E.T. was launching a 24/7 live stream. And that's kind of all the details that were made public at that point. And I had texted my agent at the time. I said, hey, I just saw this. I have to get in the door there. Do you know anyone there that you can set me up with a meeting? And I ended up getting the meeting through someone else that I knew. And I came in. I did the meeting with the leadership team. And girl, when I tell you I was sitting in the lobby and I felt the magic of being in the building. Yes. And I knew this is what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. Because when I was at Sweetie High, of course, in my mind, what is your next step, right? And my next step was always ET, E-News, Access, Extra, that realm of, right. I don't know the correct word to use there, caliber of employment. Next place, the best place to be.
The best of the best when it comes to entertainment news.
Yeah. And ET, I had done an internship with E-News when I was in college, and that's where I worked with Juliana a lot, and she's my mentor to this day. I love her to death, and she's been so instrumental in my journey. But ET was always what I was striving for. I like to think of myself as like, I want to go for the top shelf. And that's why I went to Syracuse University. I had, they're one of the top programs in the nation. I always want to be with the best of the best. And obviously Entertainment Tonight, we are a legacy brand, and I wanted to be a part of it. And I remember, oh my gosh, I remember sitting on the couch with my mom, when I was a young girl, and we would watch Mary Hart and we'd guess the birthdays together. And I can still remember sitting on the couch that has fruit on it. That was what the couch looks like. Still have it to this day, actually, at home. And just sitting there watching, being mesmerized. And so E.T. was
iconic
always
music, everything.
I know. Do you know whenever I do interviews and people come up to our podium or our platform or whatever it is, they always, or when their publicist says, oh, you're going to do Entertainment Tonight next, and people come up and they start singing our theme song.
Yeah.
It just kills me every single time, because it's like, what is my life? I'm a face on Entertainment Tonight. This is my dream job. And so it's still, I still pinch myself. I've been working at ET since 2018, and I'm still pinching myself every day that I get to do this. And I, of course, started on the digital side. I did get hired to host on the live stream, which was incredible. I was doing a live show every single day alongside Denny Directo, who I still work with literally daily. We actually hosted Entertainment Tonight today together for the first time in our careers. We're of course holding down the fort for our hosts, Kevin Frazier and Nichelle Turner, but we've been through so much together, Denny and I. He's not a colleague, he's my family. And so we started together and we're still doing it together, which is really, 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 really incredible. Not a lot of people can say that in this industry. It's not lost on me. And so we've grown together in this business and at ET, starting on the digital side, and then we both got promoted at the same time to the broadcast. And so I can't ever imagine a world without him and I together doing this. And I don't even want to think about it, but he's been one of the biggest blessings in my career and being able to do this alongside our entire team. We have an amazing family here at ET, of course. Over the years and as the business has changed and, everyone has dealt with layoffs and cancellations and whatever how things have evolved for different teams across the board in this business. But no matter what has been thrown at our team through COVID, through the strikes, our ET team has just continued to put out incredible work. We work so hard. Our talent team, we're here, there, everywhere at all times, working weekends, late nights, and same thing with our field producers and our writers. I mean, we're all nonstop, and we all genuinely love what we do. And I think it's shown on the broadcast and on our digital platform with every piece of content that goes out. The level of talent that we have here, from our writers to our social media producers, I mean, it's such a great place to be at, and I'm constantly inspired by who I'm working alongside. It's just, it's the best.
Gosh, do you remember the phone call that you got telling you that you were going to Entertainment Tonight?
Oh, it's seared in my memory. I still have the email once I accepted the offer and all that. And oh gosh, I felt my life change in that moment. And then I remember the conversations after when I was getting promoted each time. Those have been also seared into my brain. I cried when our executive producer, Aaron Johnson, told me that I would be promoted to the broadcast. That was something that I had been working towards for so long, and that was the next step in my career that I really wanted, and I was trying to manifest it, and I prayed for it, and I knew I was ready, and I wanted it so bad, and I was trusting in the process and doing what I could on my end, which was working hard, saying yes to everything, doing whatever ET needed. And she took me out to dinner, and she was like, "I have something to tell you," and I just started crying. I knew it, I could tell, and that was really like, it's been 3 seasons now, part of the broadcast. And that was the day, like, I feel like really a lot of things changed for me in the best possible way. And I'm just so grateful. So grateful.
And the Emmys.
Oh my gosh. I know. It's so wild. But again, it just shows what type of people that we have here at ET. They're all so talented and so gifted. And I mean, the way that the entire industry has voted for us time and time again, because they see that too. It's the coolest thing in the world. Of course, it's a shiny gold piece of hardware. But it means so much more than that. It means that our hard work that we all put in and day out is being recognized, and it's kind of that pat on the back of what you guys are doing stands out, and it's really good. And it doesn't get old, and we have Emmys coming up in October, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed again. And then we won last year for our talent team, which was a new category, something that, we had no idea how that was going to go. We were up against Judge Judy. I was like, oh, for sure, it's Judge Judy. Like, we're not going to win. And that one really meant a lot to be recognized in the personality category. That was a mind-blowing moment. That was a lot. There were a lot of tears then.
When we talk about your career, you've carved out what I would call a niche within a niche. And what I mean by that is you have your niche, which is entertainment news. But I feel like you've carved out this niche of country entertainment news. Was that intentional, or did that just happen naturally because you love country music and all things country?
So when I worked at Sweetie High, the company had managed a young country artist at the time. And so we would spend a lot of time covering the genre, going to different award shows. And I mean, I was dead last on these red carpets, but I was still there, and I was still meeting people, and I was still in the environment. I was still networking and still, honing the craft and whatnot. But I've always loved country music. I would go to the Hoedown in Detroit every year, and I would listen to country music all the time. But I never really thought of it as like, oh, this is the niche that I want to do. I think also because I was still early on in my career, you're trying to do everything. And it wasn't really until I was at ET when I realized, okay, I have this Rolodex of contacts, whether it's artists or managers or publicists, and I really enjoy being in the space. And I'm growing with these artists simultaneously, and we have this shared relationship and respect and desire to succeed in our respective areas. And so there was something that was, really pulling me to the genre early on. And I just kept doing more and more of it. I would pitch stories to ET, and that's been one of the biggest blessings of my career, that I've had a lot of creative freedom. So I'll pitch things, and they're super supportive of, okay, this is a great idea. Let's do it. We'll book the flights, and, you handle all the logistics and, producing it and booking it and whatnot, which is amazing. I get to do a lot of that. And so over the years, I've just kind of really loved being in the community. The country music artists are incredible, and I love helping to tell their stories and amplify their stories. The managers are amazing. The publicists are amazing. Their teams are amazing. I mean, everybody is, but there's just something about country. There's just also this like laid back vibe as well that I love. And then now I'm a co-founder of a rodeo.
Yes, I know.
So my worlds are intertwining in the best possible way, and I just I feel more at home than ever before in the space, in the Western space, and so yeah.
Yeah, talk about your rodeo. That's incredible.
Girl.
And congratulations, by the way. What an undertaking.
To say the least. I lost 20 pounds the 2 months leading up to the rodeo because of stress and not eating and not having time and trying to balance ET and being a businesswoman and launching a business with my team. I mean, it was a huge undertaking.
And for listeners that don't know, she launched a rodeo in the Palm Desert in California. Like, how did that even come to be?
So it's a professional rodeo sanctioned by the PRCA, which is the oldest and largest sanctioning body in Western sports. Think of it as the MLB, the NFL, the PGA, but of rodeo. I go to Stagecoach every year because I love country music, and that's of course the largest country music festival in our country. And I go out every year, and there's not much to do during the day before you head on over to the festival. Some people go earlier on the day. I typically, with my friends, go later in the evening. So my husband and my team and I, we were like, let's create an event that is open to the public during the day, something completely supplementary to the music festival, that people can attend, and then, head on over later in the night to enjoy live music, or they go home. They're a part of the community, whatever it may be. And so we were like, let's do a rodeo, and not just a rodeo. Let's do a professional rodeo mixed with this retail and festival vibe. And so we planned it for about 2 years, and our inaugural year was April 2025. Now we are knee deep in planning for year 2. And so I actually, I just looked over to my right, I have my spreadsheet of all my partners that I am talking to, because I did all of our partnerships for year 1. And I'm, of course, going to continue that for year 2. And a lot of the partners that we had on board were people that I knew early on in my career. So it's wild. And it's something that I tell people too. It's like networking is so important, and keeping your relationships and nurturing your relationships, because you never know who's going to come around later on in your career, or how your relationships are going to evolve and unfold. Who would have thought that the relationships that I made early on in my career, I'd be working with them on my rodeo, not even in my TV world. Some of them I do work in TV and in the rodeo as well. But so I have this rodeo business that has opened the doors for me in the Western space in ways that I never imagined. I'm speaking on different panels now in the rodeo world, and helping to amplify the sport to a new demographic. People who, no pun intended, this is in fact their first rodeo when they came to my rodeo, Desert Rodeo. And so that's been something that I never saw coming. It was not on my bingo card, but it is somewhere that I feel so at home and I'm so excited about. And, in this business, you you got to have something else going on at all times nowadays, too, because you just never know. It's a very scary business to be in these days in entertainment and TV because of the way the landscape has changed so much.
Yeah, it's something else that gives you purpose, too.
Yeah, totally. And the community environment of the sport of rodeo has been unlike any community I've ever been a part of. Everyone has been so welcoming and so kind. And also, we have a platform now with Desert Rodeo to help our community in the Palm Springs area, which has been so rewarding. And that's when you have a platform, and if you don't do good with it, then there's no point of having a platform, and there's no point of doing what you're doing. And that's been a blessing that we're able to help the community out in the ways that we do with Desert Rodeo, which is totally another episode. But it's been the biggest unexpected blessing of my life.
Is it surreal that you are now at this point in your career where you don't just know celebrities, these celebrities also know you? Like, you can go and
so
give a hug to Blake Shelton and he'll be like, hey, like, is that crazy?
It is so bizarre to me. Like, Keith Urban, every time I see him, he comes up to me and he's like, hey, Cassie. And I'm like, you know my name. And it's so bizarre to me how I've established these relationships over the years. And, it's the coolest thing. I also have so much respect for the artists and the talent that I work with. But, something in the country world in particular that is so special to me is when I started covering those red carpets, I was far down the line on these red carpets. Now I'm in the front position with Entertainment Tonight, which is the coolest full circle moment. But it's the artists that are on the other side on the red carpet. I have grown with them from like when Morgan Wallen's debut album came out. I did an interview with him, and over the years continued to support his music wherever I was. And, he doesn't do many interviews nowadays, but he will always take the time for me. And I really, really, really appreciate that. When I was first starting out, Kelsey Ballerini was also, kind of establishing herself in Nashville in country music. And she is one to this day who will always take the time to speak with me on a red carpet or in a sit-down interview. And that's the coolest thing to me is we're all kind of growing together, which is awesome. I have seen these people perform at small venues and now in arenas and stadiums. And like, that's amazing. And they are always so sweet when they see me with E.T. They know that I was dead last on the red carpet and now I'm with Entertainment Tonight. Like, it's awesome to see the growth. And then like the publicists that I worked with early on when they were interns, they're now VPs and they're running the show. They're the directors of communications at these record labels and where they're at. So it's amazing to just do life with people who you now call your friends, and the way that our personal and professional lives just merge together. It's the coolest thing in the world. We get paid to do fun stuff with our friends. Really.
I know. Speaking of red carpets, can you give our listeners that are in entertainment news or aspiring entertainment journalists some tips for handling red carpets?
Ooh, red carpets are my bread and butter. I love red carpets because you never know what to expect and you always have to be on your toes. And the red carpet to me is somewhere that I always say is where the Midwesterner in me comes out, because you just have to be able sometimes to just talk and be yourself and be warm and be welcoming. And I think when it comes to red carpets nowadays, one of the biggest tips I would say, and it sounds so cheesy, but is to be prepared, because you do never know who's going to be there. So it's kind of almost having that facial recognition of, oh, yes, that person. Why are they here? Yep. Okay. So they're in the project or they know. Okay. They're here. And what do they have going on now? Okay. I can ask them this. Oh, they were in the news a couple days ago because XYZ happened. Okay, I'm going to ask them. You always have to have your finger on the pulse in entertainment news. You have to know what's going on with that celebrity's personal life, their professional life. You just have to be aware of it, and also aware of how they answer questions and what their personality is like. How are they going to handle when I have to go there and ask perhaps a question that they don't really want to answer and they don't really want to talk about it, but we have to because we are a news organization and we have to go there at certain times, especially when there's not a restriction and you just posted about it hours before. Of course, we have to ask about it and talk about it, whether, whatever the subject is, I should say. Obviously, we approach every topic with care and sensitivity. Divorces are one thing, relationships ending, all of that, when there's families involved, we always try to approach things with care and caution and respect. Because at the end of the day, everyone that we interview, they're humans, and you have to treat them as such. And I also have a job to do, so it's finding that balance, and that balance is really hard. Sometimes I've been doing this for almost 10 years, and sometimes I'm still like, okay, how do I go about this? Do I go this way? Do I go that way? How do I, but you just, at the end of the day, have to be human. You have to be prepared. You also have to be prepared of, if it does go one way, where do I go from there? But just, again, having your finger on the pulse at all times, and just being a human. That's what I like to say when approaching red carpets, because you have to talk to publicists, you have to talk to the talent, just be a human.
Are there any interviews that really stand out to you that you've done, that just some wild moments or crazy moments, or just ones that really stick out in your mind?
Gosh.
Because you've done so many.
I know, which is why it's a hard question to answer. There are some that have stuck out, and I don't want to say their names for reasons of more they were learning lessons for me, where I've had moments where I've cringed after the fact, where I learned something where I, shouldn't have done a follow-up or to that certain topic or whatnot. Those type of things really stand out to me, and maybe that's because I sometimes am just too harsh on myself, and I'll focus on that when I'm like, no. Out of 100 interviews, don't focus on the one that you didn't do your best at. Focus on the other ones that are positive.
Yeah.
But listen, it's a blessing and a curse. Do. Yeah. I've had so many fun moments with talent over the years, and really a lot of the moments come from honestly just off the cuff. They just happen. I have a lot of great memories with Blake Shelton. He's always so good to me in our interviews, and they're always meaningful, and he's a gem. Again, that country music space too. They're fun. It's like this laid back vibe. I really loved Sandra Bullock when I interviewed her for The Lost City. And it was a sit-down interview with Daniel Radcliffe, and she was doing a screening the night before. And she had mentioned something on stage that she was like going to take a step back, but no one really expanded on it. And so the next day when I sat down with her, I said, last night you alluded to taking a step back. Is that something, when is that happening? What do you want to do? Like, can you expand more? And she goes, I'm taking a break to focus on my family. And that, of course, made headlines because she was stepping away from doing these blockbuster movies to focus on her family. Her kids are little. And come to find out a couple years later, her partner had passed because he was sick. And now it was something that no one knew. And now looking back on that interview, that's what she was saying. She was taking a step back to focus on her family because there was a lot going on in her household. And my heart broke for her when I found out that news that her partner had passed, because I remember that moment so vividly that she told me she was taking a step back. That's a standout interview for me. Another standout interview, mostly because I genuinely loved her. She was so lovely and so funny and witty. She's someone that I would love to sit down with and, have a meal with. Another standout interview was with Kevin Costner, who's not to sound like or look like a creep here. Here's my Yellowstone Sherpa, and then Kevin in my photo frame right there. But I was a big Yellowstone fan, and I covered the show from the beginning. And he was always my number one. I had a list of 3 people that I wanted to interview, and he was at the top of the list. And I interviewed him this was the first time. This was in London. But the standout interview for me was when I interviewed him backstage in Las Vegas for CinemaCon. And this was when he was starting the press for Horizon. And he still had not talked about Yellowstone and his exit at all. And he opened up for the first time about it with me. And that was a moment where I was like, wow, he was ready and he felt a safe space with me to talk about his exit. And I don't know if that was because he knew, well, my press for Horizon is starting. I got to rip the Band-Aid off now and I got to talk about it. Or if he genuinely, remembered our time in this photo in London, or just me being a safe space where he could talk about it. And knowing that I was a fan, I truly, it was an end of an era for Yellowstone fans when we said goodbye to John Dutton. And so I genuinely asked the question with care as a fan as well. And so that was a standout moment for me as well. Those are, and then anytime with my Jonas Brothers.
I was going to say, you almost left out the Jonas Brothers.
There they are, right there. There they are. They were on my list too. I have loved the Jonas Brothers since, I was a young girl and I would go to all the concerts and enter all the sweepstakes and things like that. I'm an OG Jonas fan. And so every time I interview them now as a group, I had interviewed them individually, but never as a group. Because there's a difference.
Yeah.
When you got a Jonas brother and then you've got the Jonas Brothers, plural, together.
Yes.
So every time I interview them, that's always one of those things where you're like, 12-year-old Cassie would never believe you and who you just interviewed and what you just did. She would never believe you.
Who's left on your bucket list? Like, who would you really love to interview still?
I think Adele would be so fun. She doesn't have a filter. And I love that about her because I like to think that I don't have a filter. Sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not good. It's one of those things where I'm like, Cassie, did you just say that? You should probably have a filter. But I love that she's so unfiltered and she's got this energy to her and this magic that I would love to just sit down with her and like have a glass of wine. I think that she would be so much fun. I'd also love to sit down with Meghan Markle as well, and really kind of, but in a way that almost the cameras weren't around. I would love to do like just a totally like get to know the real her type of interview, almost one that would never see the light of day. Just sit down with her and just ask her questions. So
and
her, Adele, and Brad Pitt, those are my tops right now.
Okay, I'll manifest those for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then we'll put them on my board right behind me.
Speaking of manifesting, is it true that you met your husband through a psychic?
It is true. Isn't that the wildest story you've ever heard? It's bizarre. But yes, it is 100% factual.
Can you explain that? I'm so curious now.
Yeah, so his sister was dating a celebrity psychic who would come out to Los Angeles because they're all New York based. He would come out to Los Angeles and stay with my husband. Obviously, I didn't know my husband at this time. And my husband would help him out with management stuff and, trying to get him more in the Hollywood scene and kind of amplifying him. And the psychic had reached out to me on social media and said, hey, like I just did some readings with, another TV host in the business. Like, would you ever be interested in one? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I love that stuff. Very in tune with all of that. And months went by. And I kind of forgot about it. But the psychic had come back to LA and he reached out to me and he said, hey, I have a last minute cancellation. Do you want to come to this house tonight and we'll do a reading? And I was like, sure, absolutely. A, what are the odds that I was even free that night, that I didn't have a red carpet or anything like that? B, what are the odds that I wanted to drive an hour from near the water by the marina all the way out to the valley? And it was fate. I was meant to. And so he would do the readings out of my husband's then apartment and then not even boyfriend. It was just, whatever. He just existed. I didn't know this man.
Yeah.
And like, it's such like a Craigslist killer story looking back on it that I went to this random house at 8 p.m. Didn't tell anybody. Like, anything could have happened. And yeah, that's how I met Brett. He answered the door and brought me up to the rating in his apartment. Again, Craigslist killer story. Thank God he didn't kill me. He married me.
Oh my gosh.
And here we are. And we remained friends. We didn't start dating right away. I was still so focused on my career. He was focused on his career. And it wasn't until a year later that we finally got together. Because you know how it is. Let's do dinner, or, go grab a drink. And then a year goes by, you don't see that person. And then you finally hang out. And then even the night we got dinner and drinks, it wasn't like, I didn't put him in a box of like, I'm going to marry this guy. But I also didn't like write him off. He kind of just existed in a way that was so new to me, because I always had gone like 0 to 100. And so, get this, another year goes by.
Yeah.
And we had remained in touch. But again, I didn't like write him off or, actively pursue something. I just, he just was a friend. And so we're now in the pandemic, and he's back home in New York. I'm back home in Michigan at the time. And I had posted something on Instagram story that was like rocking my little cousin to sleep as a baby. And he messaged me and he goes, "Aw, someone's going to make a great mama one day." And the rest was history. There wasn't a day that went by after that. And I knew at the time what was happening. I felt it. I felt my life shifting. And I just knew. I knew what was happening. And we dated for about a year and a half. And then we got engaged. We were engaged for 17 months, and then we got married in January of 2024.
At the Cape in Cabo, the best hotel there is.
We loved the Cape. It was so gorgeous. We had no connection to Cabo, to be honest with you, but we saw the property on social media and absolutely loved it. And it was a great, intimate wedding. We had 66 people. It was a vacation for people from Michigan and New York, because it's cold in the Midwest at that time. So they were in the East Coast. So they were excited to go to Cabo. It was smack dab in the middle of award season, unfortunately. but I had to do my wedding around my brother's baseball season. So there's that.
Oh, that's right. Speaking of which, is it true that before you booked at the Cape your wedding, that you were scammed?
Girl, that is so true, unfortunately. I got scammed out of my wedding dress. It was back home in Michigan. It was a very reputable business. My best friend had gotten her wedding dress from there. But basically, long story short, the woman, she was taking brides' money for their dress, not ordering the dresses, and instead going to the casino and gambling the money, because she was getting behind on her payments. So she was just gambling our money away in hopes that she would make money to pay off. It was a whole thing. I kind of blew the lid on the story with a friend of mine who's a local newscaster in Detroit, and we did a whole expose on it. And because at the time I was like one of 9 brides that she had done it to. And when we went public with the story, we realized there were far more than 9 of us. And sure enough, she went to jail. And I mean, this was like a 3-year ordeal dealing with this. She went to jail. She paid restitution, and she's out now. But I got scammed out of the wedding dress. I mean, it was only these things happened to me. But it was such a bizarre fluke thing. Luckily, it got resolved, after years of dealing with it. And it was really sad. I felt so bad for the girls who had paid cash for their wedding dress. I at least paid on my credit card. So, that's another thing, guys. Just put everything on a credit card, please, for the love of God, especially something like a wedding dress. So I had gotten my money back from the credit card agency, but some of the girls who had paid cash, I actually still don't know if they got their money back included in the restitution. It was a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Before I let you go, because I want to make sure I get to the quick fires, we know that entertainment news has been changing. There's nothing new about that. It's been changing over the last decade.
Yeah.
Especially in 2025, we hear E! News was canceled after 34 years. Where do you see entertainment news going?
Girl, that is the $1 million question. And I don't think even the people in entertainment news know. I think we're all kind of trying to figure it out, and it's like a whack-a-mole. It's like we get this thing taken care of and then something else pops up. Listen, I couldn't tell you. I think that things will evolve to be more digital, but we're also seeing a lot of things that are made for the digital platform that also don't work. So it's trying to figure out what type of content do people really want. Is that bite-sized content? Is that live content? What does this world of entertainment news look like? I would love to see doing more live coverage from red carpets because, for the culture, for the community, those who love entertainment news, who do tune in to watch the award shows, there is nothing like that collective feeling of sitting down, watching what's happening live in real time on the red carpet, hearing the interviews, and then texting your friends, oh, are you seeing what she's wearing? Oh my gosh, how gorgeous is her dress? Oh, did you see this interview? Oh, did you see what happened in the background? There's something so exciting about that for people who love entertainment news and who do tune in for award shows. I would love to see the return of live coverage at award shows. I think that is, E! News did so well with it. I mean, there's a reason why so many of us got into this business. It's because we were watching Juliana Rancic and Ryan Seacrest and then Jason. We were watching them do it on the red carpets, and it's mesmerizing. It's amazing. And so I would love to see Entertainment Tonight do more of it as well. I think that could be really cool because, again, too, it's like, people will see our interviews on digital platforms and watch it on our nightly broadcast the next night. But there is something so special about gathering on your couch an hour before the award show starts and seeing in real time everyone getting out of their cars and the lights, the camera, the action. It's like, look at the smile on my face. Like, why I'm so giddy about it. I just think it's so fun. So again, just figuring out what works and what doesn't. It's an evolving process. I mean, when I started here, we were doing live streaming, and maybe we bring that back. I don't know. Obviously, we are beginning a new chapter with the Paramount Skydance merger and acquisition, and so I don't know what the future holds. I'm really excited about it. I think that this is a really awesome opportunity to kind of start fresh and do cool things. But yeah, everything is changing so quickly and so fast, and it's really sad, and to see our friends losing jobs left and right. And so it's not lost on me the magnitude of having a job in this day and age in entertainment news. And I know how many people reach out to me on a daily basis of, hey, I would love to get into entertainment news. Like, what do you advise? And it's so hard to answer that stuff. It's really, really, really hard because it's not the golden era anymore, and things have changed so much, and you have to be able to do a lot more than what people used to do back in the day. I mean, you got to be able to be on camera, be behind the scenes. You got to produce. You got to help on this side and that. You have to be willing to really, 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 really hustle. And so it's just a different world, and there's not a lot of jobs available. And I try not to be too discouraged about it. I'm trying to see things with the glass half full, and I tell people too a lot of times, like, make it work for you, travel as much as you can, try to do stories that fill your heart, try to meet with as many people as you can, build relationships. You never know where those will take you. While you have the opportunity in front of you, do what you can to make it as impactful as possible for you. Because again, we never know when, things are going to change for us.
Well said. That is the truth. You ready for the quick fires?
Sure. Oh my God. Have you learned anything about me that I'm anything but quick with my answers? I'll try to be really fast.
If I weren't a journalist, I would be blank.
I think I would go back to medicine and be a pediatrician, like I always wanted to when I was little. I don't like blood. I'll have to figure that out. But there is something special about helping children. I think that I was born to be a mom one day as well. Like there's some children just hold such a special place in my heart. And I think that's why I always wanted to be a pediatrician.
Your coffee order?
Vanilla latte.
Me too. Your favorite travel destination?
I want to go to Bora Bora. That's the number one on the bucket list. Where I've been, Italy. Italy, I will go to, every year I would go to Italy if I could.
Something people often get wrong about you.
I think some people may not think I'm nice just because I have a thing called RBF.
Oh, I definitely have that too. Don't you worry.
And Botox in my forehead. So I think some people, when I'm just being me, when I'm like listening or I'm walking down the street and I'm just, not expressive, I look a little intimidating. I got to work on that.
It's when I'm focused in on something. Like when I'm like, because a lot of times I'm just like focusing in, getting something done. And they're like, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing's wrong, okay? And now I sound angry.
Face.
But I'm not.
I know. I think too, I'm very like expressive and straightforward. And I won in mock trial when I was in college. I had no idea what I was talking about, just because I spoke with so much conviction. But I feel like sometimes people mistake that for being aggressive or being, intimidating, or I'm a brat. I don't know. But I swear I'm a really nice person.
You are. The last movie, TV show, or book you watched and loved?
Loved The Pit. The Pit TV show. It's the medical drama with Noah Wyle, and I thought it was amazing.
A snapshot of an ordinary everyday moment that gives you true joy.
Oh, a snapshot of it everyday. The moment whenever I get a text message from my mom after she sees the episode of E.T. that I was on, or a video that's on ET Online, whatever that moment is, because I get it every single day, it's she never misses anything. And so whenever I get that text message and I see her name come through and she says something along the lines of, how proud she is, or like, sends all the star emojis, that never gets old to me. Never misses an episode of ET and asks me every day, hey, which videos are you on that I could watch? She's been such a huge supporter of everything that I've done. I get to go home maybe twice a year, and that's the hardest part of doing what I do. There's a lot of sacrifice that comes with this business, and that means not seeing your family as much as you like to. And so every day that I get that message from her, it sparks a lot of joy. Unless she's like, hey, your belt was backwards, or you should do this, or you should do that. Actually, what's so funny is I wore a belt today. So much for quickfire, right? This belt was hers from the 80s or 90s, and she saved so much of her clothing. And so I wore a jumpsuit today, and I wore it, right here. And that was my little nod. I didn't tell her about it. So she's going to watch E.T., me hosting E.T., which is wild. And she's going to see that. And that's my little nod to her.
She's your biggest fan.
Oh, she sure is. And I'm so grateful for that. No matter what, Detroit will always have the viewership of my mother.
Yes.
the Detroit market.
If you could switch lives with one person for a day, who would it be?
I would love to live in the shoes of Kate Middleton for a day. I would love to see the world from her lens, in the sense of the way that she helps people with her platform and the impact that she's able to have. I think it would just be life-changing. And I'd also just love to see what it's like to be a princess for the day.
Yeah, right?
But I think she is fascinating, and she's done so many good things with her platform and her title and all of that, and her beautiful family that she's created. And of course she's dealing with health issues right now, and I send all my love to her, and the way that she's handled it with such grace. She's amazing.
One thing you're deeply grateful for right now?
Having a job. And I say that with every fiber of my being, where it is this immense sense of gratitude, because we've seen how much the industry has changed. And I'm so grateful to have a job, because I love the job that I have. I am not ready by any means to say goodbye or walk away from this job. And so there's not a day that goes by that I am not immensely grateful for a seat at the table or a spot on the stage. Aww.
Oh. If you could go back in time to when you first started your career, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
Girl, relax. Sometimes I just worried too much. Always had to be, 10 steps ahead of what do I do now? What's this? And sometimes I missed the moments while they were happening. And I would always be focused on, okay, what's next? Or, okay, what do I do now? Got that. And you kind of just, you're not appreciating it as it's in front of you. And so I wish I would have just taken a step back and just realized that you have a whole career ahead of you. You will have these moments. Just because someone else is doing it right now doesn't mean it's your time. It'll happen. Just trust the process and relax. Enjoy it while you have it. Actually, that is something that I was... My executive producer, Erin Johnson, she's one of the best in this business. And she told me one time when I was... just struggling in a way of like, what's next and what do I do? And am I lost or I just had one of those panic moments in our careers of feeling almost lost in a sense of not knowing what was next. And she said, just enjoy and trust the process. And it is something that I had to learn. It didn't come easy to me at first, and I'm so glad that day that she told me that and kind of really instilled it in my mind and in my heart of just letting things unfold and enjoy it while it's in front of me.
This interview has been fascinating. Cassie, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I know this is going to be helpful for a lot of journalists, especially those wanting to get into entertainment and this wild, wild west of entertainment. So thanks so much for talking with me. I appreciate it.
That's a great way to put it, the wild, wild west.
Totally
but
is.
I appreciate your time and thank you for having me. I'm sorry that I ramble. I'm better at asking questions than answering them. I'm so sorry.
Where can people find you if they want to follow you?
Instagram at Cassie DiLaura.
And maybe on Entertainment Tonight, right?
Oh, duh, that too. Check your local listings. We're typically 7:30 in most markets on the CBS station, but we're syndicated, so it could be, on your ABC station. Just check your local listings, and you'll see Entertainment Tonight.